Hello, everyone. It's Casey Vineyard here at Wonders of Wildlife National Museum and Aquarium. We are so excited to have you here as we talk about our newest mission for the month of June through Mission Conservation, pollinators. Throughout the month of June, you will get to meet multiple partners to learn exciting facts about different pollinators. Get ready to dive into some fun facts about our pollinator friends and their importance to the ecosystem. In order to play this really fun mission, all you have to do is buzz on over to our mission conservation page at www.wondersofwildlife.org/mission-conservation. And that is going to bring you to our mission conservation webpage. On this website, I'm going to bring your attention down to Get the App. Once you click download, that'll take you to download the Agents of Discovery app, which you will need to play any mission conservation mission. Once you have that app downloaded, create a user account and log in. Hit the search bar, type in mission conservation. And this is where we house all of our at-home missions where they will pop up for you to play at home. Once you have that mission popped up and loaded, hit play and get ready for your fun adventure. And if you're looking for some more pollinator related activities, we're going to direct you down to another part of our website where it says schedule of missions and activities. This tab will show you all of the missions that we have live, including our current mission, pollinators. Under this tab, you will also find our activity guide that we have specifically made for you at home. There will be a craft, an awesome outdoor activity, and something that you can do to promote conservation for these amazing pollinators. So I'm currently standing here in our Olympic National Park exhibit located in our wildlife galleries. This national park is a very large temperate rainforest. Because of the dense forests, they rely heavily on pollinators. One of the largest impact pollinators are bees. And that brings me to our partner for today. We have Ranger Elena with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Ranger Elena, how are you doing today?
I'm doing swell. I thank you for letting me join you today.
Yeah, we are super excited to have you. What do you have for us?
Well, I'm going to be talking all about bumblebees, and I dressed for the occasion. So thank you so much, Casey, for inviting me on to talk about and highlight bumblebees today. I'm Ranger Elena, and I'm coming to you from Sherburne National Wildlife Refuge Complex here in central Minnesota. Like Casey mentioned, I work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We are a sister agency of the National Park Service under the Department of the Interior. And we're focused on conserving and protecting habitat for animals and plants, including our pollinators. So today I'm here to talk all about bumblebees, continuing this month's programming celebrating pollinators. Pollinator Month in June celebrates all the insects and animals that transport those tiny grains of pollen from one plant to another, helping those flowers and plants develop fruits and seeds. So now you might be asking yourself, why is that important? Why should we care? Pollination is critical for many foods that we eat and flowers we enjoy. And bumblebees are just one type of pollinator, and we're going to focus on them today, what sets them apart from other bees, and how we can help them. Before we get too far, and I maybe give some things away, I want you to take a second, close your eyes, and think about what a bumblebee looks like. So whether you're watching this live with us or enjoying the recording, think about the colors, textures, and the size. So close those eyes and picture a bumblebee. Bumblebees, as you're likely picturing, are known for their fluffy appearance and their wider bodies, along with that yellow and black striping along their body. We often think of them as cute and like to watch them buzzing about, or at least that's just me. Many bumblebee workers are about the size of an adult's thumbnail, with the queens and male drones being just a little bit bigger. The longer hair that bumblebees have gives them their fluffy appearance and the ability to survive in colder and more northern climates. It's their version of a coat. Before we get too far, And I'm going to ask you to put your thinking cap on one more time. So get it out and ready, your thinking cap, to think about how many different types of bumblebees might be found in North America. So essentially across the continent, we're going to include Mexico and Canada. How many kinds of native bees do you think there are? So put on that thinking cap. Hopefully you have a number in your head. Like I mentioned, I'm coming to you from central Minnesota, and drum roll. Here we have 23 species that can be found in our state. You can see kind of on this guide, there's a wide variety of bees that can be found in Minnesota. In total, North America has over 45 different species and types of bumblebees. So depending on what state you're watching from, your number might vary, and likely a university or organization in your state is doing research on them, and then that will help you figure out the diversity in your local area. Overall, there's a lot of them. So what sets a bumblebee apart, and what makes it a bumblebee? And first off, bumblebees are insects, and there's certain characteristics that all insects share. So if we look at this, all insects are going to have 6 legs, 3 body parts, antenna, and they have wings. And so you can see that on this diagram, the 3 legs would also be on this side as well. And then the 3 body parts are called the head. The middle one is the thorax, and then we have the abdomen. And you can see that on this Hunt's bumblebee right here. You can see the 3 legs it has on this side of the body. You can see its antenna, its wings, and then it has a head, thorax, and abdomen. And so if you want to help you remember these different parts of the insect, we're going to sing a very popular song sung to the tune of head, shoulders, knees, and toes. We're going to do this twice so you can get the gist of it, and hopefully for sure join in on the second time. So if you're ready, we're going to go head, shoulder, head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen, head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen, 6 legs and wings and 2 antennae. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. Okay, so now that you have the hang of that, we're gonna do it once more, and I won't mess up this time. And this time you should join me. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. 6 legs and wings and 2 antennae. Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. Okay, so I apologize in advance now if you have this stuck in your head. At least you have the parts of an insect down pat. So bumblebees are an insect, and then they have additional characteristics that set them apart. They have 2 sets of wings on each side, making 4 wings in total. And so on each side, they have a larger front wing and a smaller hind wing, and they are attached by these hooks that hold them together. And you can see kind of the wings pictured together in this diagram. If we look at it on a photo, you can see on this wing here, the bigger wing and then the smaller wing attached in there as well. And that can be an identifying characteristic if you're trying to tell a bumblebee from a fly or other insects that maybe only have 1 set of wings on each side. So bumblebees again have 2 sets on each side for that total of 4 wings. In addition to that, bumblebees have that fuzzy body, and they have the wide fuzzy body that's wide overall. There's not a lot of distinction between that second and third body part, so they don't have a really narrow place where you can tell the 2 body parts apart. Hard to tell where the thorax ends and the abdomen begins. And with that, we're going to take a closer look at the differences between honeybees and bumblebees. Because when a lot of people think of bees as a whole, you're going to think of honeybees. That's pictured right here. Honeybees are known producing the honey that we love to use and enjoy. But one major difference is between these two. Honeybees here are originally from Europe, and they were brought over to the United States. There's mainly one species of honeybee in the country, where there are many, many species, native species of bumblebees. And if we talk about honeybees, that they make the honey that we use and enjoy and buy from the grocery store. Bumblebees are going to produce a similar product, but they're only going to make enough food for themselves, so we don't harvest it from them. If we look at their social network, both bumblebees and honeybees have a system with many female workers, male drones, and a queen. Honeybees are going to live in large hives with thousands of individuals. So they have very large hives that are either taken care of by humans in bee boxes, or they can be found in wild, typically in cavities in trees. On the other hand, we have our bumblebees. They live in smaller colonies in the ground with up to hundreds of individuals. Bumblebees have not been domesticated, so all of them are wild and they're not managed by beekeepers or anything like that. Honeybee hives, whether they're wild or human managed, are going to survive the winter. And if they are managed, some of them are transported in semi-trucks to the southern US during the colder periods that we have in northern states. But if they do spend the winter up in the northern area, they're going to be much less active throughout the winter, and the honeybees will form a cluster to stay warm during those colder months. And overall, honeybees are going to be longer lived, and the queen can live for several years. Our bumblebee workers and males, so the majority of the colony, is only around for the spring, summer, and fall. The queen is the only individual to survive the winter, and she hibernates during those colder months. Once it's warm enough in the spring, the bumblebee queen becomes active and she starts her colony from scratch. The colony is active until late fall, when cold temperatures are going to prompt a new queen to hibernate for the winter, and the rest of the colony passes away. So lastly, we're just going to talk about some differences in appearance between these two. You've probably already noticed it, but the honeybee has much shorter hair. They're not quite as fuzzy as our bumblebee friends. They also have distinctive body parts, so their head, thorax, and abdomen. You can tell that they kind of have a waist where those two body parts come together. And they also have more consistent striping throughout the entire body, where you can see, we'll delve into it in just a second, but bumblebees are going to have more patterning throughout that differs between species. Okay, so now the real question is, how do we get close enough to these bumblebees to notice these traits we're talking about? It can be hard when we're watching them from farther away. So first off, I just want to give a disclaimer that, like many insects, bumblebees are more scared of us than we are of them. So if you're calm and gentle around a bumblebee, it's very unlikely that they will sting you. So my motto is, avoid provoking them in order to prevent being stung. And I stand by this statement, and I've even pet a couple of bumblebees. So a side note, if your adult gives you permission, I challenge you to slowly approach a bumblebee that's feeding on a flower, and gently use one finger to stroke their back. You'll join the elite crew of those that have pet bumblebees, and you'll have a story to tell your friends. But back to how to get close to them, it takes a lot of patience and a little bit of sneakiness. So if you sit close to several busy flowers, the bumblebees will likely get used to you, and you'll have the ability to watch them hard at work. And you can even use something as simple as a hand lens to take a closer look in that method. Another option is to use a bug box, like one of these two, to capture a busy bumblebee that's feeding on a flower. We'll look at this one first. What you can do, you want to find a a bumblebee that's occupied, hard at work, separate the bug box and you go around the bumblebee and you're going to just close it around it and pull it gently back so that you keep the flower and the bumblebee inside of the bug box. The bumblebee will be likely remain occupied feeding on that flower, and you'll get the opportunity to look closer. A lot of bug boxes have some sort of magnifying glass on the top, and just get to look at all sides of them. Similar thing with a bug box like this that screws, just gonna go around the bumblebee and bring it back. Both of these containers, you're gonna notice they're a lot smaller and can heat up faster. So we only want to keep bumblebees in these containers for a very short amount of time, a handful of minutes, so that we don't stress their small bodies. So when we are ready to let them go again, you can just separate it gently, optimally toward by a cluster of flowers that they can fly to, and then they're just gonna buzz off and go about their business. And so once you have gotten a close look of them, you'll start to see the differences between the species of bumblebees, because each species of bumblebee is going to have a unique look and appearance, with some things to look for being the markings you might see between their wings, as well as any markings on their thorax or abdomen and differences in that. So we're going to start, this is the brown-belted bumblebee. We're going to look at 3 common bees that are both in Minnesota and throughout the US, depending on their range. The brown-belted bumblebee can be identified by this circular black marking between the wings. You can see it on this bee here. You can see yellow hairs kind of all around it, and it's a pretty circular marking. And then the middle, the thorax is yellow, and then you notice the abdomen, this bottom body part. The second section has a brown crescent there. So mostly black to the bottom of the abdomen with a little bit of brown, giving it its brown-belted name. And you can see that here, most of the abdomen is going to be black. And if we were able to kind of peek under the wings, we'd probably see that brown crescent. The hibernating queen of the brown-belted bumblebees emerges in late spring to start her colony. And the workers of this species are commonly found visiting a variety of thistles, milkweeds, and sunflowers. The brown-belted bumblebee has one of the largest ranges of any United States species. They span coast to coast, so from Oregon to New York, and they're native in most parts of the country, with the exception being the southwest portion of the US. So very likely from where you're tuning in, you can find this common bumblebee. The second one we're going to look at is the common eastern bumblebee. They're also pretty easy to identify, similar to the brown-belted bumblebee. They're going to have a black marking in between their wings with yellow surrounding it and a yellow thorax overall, that middle body part. This marking isn't quite completely circular though, and it does dip down either in kind of almost in a T shape. You start to have a line going towards the abdomen, and you can see that in this photo here. You can see that black marking. The queen of this species emerges early in the spring, and it's one of the first bumblebees buzzing about in the Midwest. So in April and May, they're out starting their colony. This species is a pollinator of flowers, along with many fruits and vegetables. So we can thank them for helping us pollinate our tomatoes, blueberries, and cucumbers. And because of that, those flower preferences, it's often spotted near gardens, farms, and backyards. And their nests are located in woodlands or fields most commonly. The common eastern bumblebee can be found throughout the eastern United States. So from Maine down to Florida on the East Coast, and then it goes all the way west to about Minnesota is the western boundary. So If you're in the eastern United States, this is another one you can keep an eye out for. The tricolored bumblebee is quite the showstopper. We can see the look at the picture here, and then in the diagram, you can see this species is known or named for those orange bands on its abdomen, on that bottom body part. On its thorax, it is mainly yellow, like the other bumblebees we've looked at. And then that black marking is going to stretch from wing to wing. So it has a wider black marking on it. And then that extends down in a line to the abdomen, almost in a T or a V shape. And we can see that on here as well. You can see just the wider black marking in between the wings. And because of this orange section that is on there, it's also, the tricolored bumblebee is also known as the orange belted bumblebee. Most commonly found near woodlands and wetlands, this species of bumblebee favors milkweeds, blackberries, and the fall blooming goldenrod flowers. They're common in the eastern US, definitely rarer kind of as you go farther west in the country. And their range includes North and South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan, so some of your Great Lakes states, and then Pennsylvania, north to New England. And then it also includes Western and Eastern Canada. So there's one more bumblebee that I want to highlight. This one isn't quite as common as it used to be. So this is the rusty-patched bumblebee. And you can see here its thorax is going to be pretty similar to the tricolored bumblebee we just looked at. Its marking in between its wings is going to extend from wing to wing, and then has that V or T extending down to its abdomen. In contrast, on its abdomen, it has a rusty patch. That's what it's named for. So it has rusty hairs located on the beginning of that second segment. So the first segment of the abdomen is yellow. The second one has a rusty patch on the front with yellow hair on both sides of the patch and under it. And for this one, I'll show you a couple different photos. So here's one photo that you can see. Here's a different photo to show you that patch kind of in profile. And take a look at that. So the rusty patched bumblebee's claim to fame is that in 2017, it became the first and remains the only continental US bumblebee to be placed on the endangered species list, a list managed by the US Fish and Wildlife Service, the agency that I work for. So its current range is a variety of Midwestern and Eastern states that I'll list off, and you can see on this map as well. So Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, then Virginia and West Virginia, and then we have Massachusetts and Maine are where we currently have populations. And so those are denoted by red markings on this map, which might be hard to see. This gray overlay is where the bumblebee species used to be found. So as you can see, it has experienced a huge decline. Researchers estimate 87% decline, and only a fraction of the population remains. So the good news is that this species has been spotted in pollinator gardens in urban neighborhoods. So giving us hope to save this species, and that small steps can really make a difference. And this photo here shows two of my coworkers excitedly spotting out a sighting in their own pollinator garden in South Minneapolis. So it's fun to set eyes on something a species that you work with and are trying to protect. So lastly, what can you do to help? Just like us, bumblebees need food to survive. And so with cities and suburbs expanding, we're losing those fields of native flowers that they used to buzz around. And unfortunately, 1 in 3 bumblebee species are in decline. Native bumblebees use these wildflowers for food, so you can make a big difference by adding that back to the landscape, by having native pollinator plants on your balcony, porch, or in your garden or yard. And you can see some examples here. And so getting back to the beginning, having a garden like this, you'll have bees that visit and pollinate these flowers. Whether these bees are, while they're finding food, the bees' furry hairs, you can maybe see on the face of this bumblebee, are capturing pollen. Tiny grains of pollen are getting stuck to the hairs, both on their body and on their legs, and they're transporting them from flower to flower. So it gets stuck on them while they're trying to eat nectar. The pollen gets stuck, and when they go to the same type of flower, they deposit it on that anther in the middle of the flower. And so some flowers have taken advantage of this pollination strategy and have changed their flower type to keep bees on those flowers for longer so they can capture more and more pollen. Bumblebees also have a range of tongue lengths. Some are short, some are medium, and some are long, and different flower preferences. So bumblebees efficiently pollinate and visit a wide variety of flowers. So even small changes like a pollinator garden can help out bees and provide them with a patchwork of habitat. To help the largest number of pollinators, try to add flowers that bloom through the early spring, summer, and fall. Have multiple colors and different flower shapes. You can see that here. This also benefits us because it's more fun to look at. So next time you enjoy a flower or a piece of fruit, thank bumblebees and pollinators in general. With that, I am going to turn it back to Casey to wrap us up. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Ranger Elena. It was a pleasure to have you here to talk about these amazing pollinators. Bumblebees are a crucial part of our ecosystem. Well, that is all the time that we have for this live stream, but join us next week as we continue to talk about amazing pollinators. Next week, we will feature Lori Jones, a pollinator coordinator with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So remember, plant some trees, save some bees, and join us next week. Thank you so much.